Welcome back to Arsenal Updates, the channel that bleeds red and white every single day. If you're new here, smash that subscribe button. Hit the like, drop a comment, and share this video with every gunner you know. Let's get into it. May 31st, 2026. Budapest, Hungary, the Puskás Arena. Arsenal Football Club will walk out onto that pitch for the first time in a Champions League final in 20 years. 20 long years. And when they do, they won't just be representing North London. They'll be carrying the hopes of every Arsenal fan who sat through the lean years, the near misses, the heartbreak, the fourth place finishes that felt like trophies, and the slow, grinding rebuild under Mikel Arteta. This moment, this final, is everything. But standing in their way is a PSG side that believes they are on the verge of something historic. A side that crushed Inter Milan in last year's final. A side dripping with quality, pace, and the kind of attacking firepower that keeps defenders up at night. And the football world has started talking, loudly, because some of the biggest names in the game are stepping forward with warnings. Brutal, direct, unfiltered warnings, aimed straight at Arsenal. And one of the most stinging came from a man who knows exactly what it feels like to stand on that final stage. Patrice Evra. Evra played in 3 Champions League finals in the space of 4 years with Manchester United between 2008 and 2011. He won 1, he lost 2. He faced Lionel Messi and that devastating Barcelona side not once but twice. He knows the weight of those nights. He understands what happens when the moment is bigger than the preparation. And what he said about Arsenal this week sent shockwaves through the footballing internet. Speaking exclusively to Goal, Evra didn't hold back. When asked if Arsenal are as good as their recent record suggests, he went straight for the jugular. He said that this isn't even about Arsenal, it's about PSG. In his view, PSG are currently dominating the football world, and he made one thing crystal clear. If Arsenal try to park the bus, if they fall back into defensive shells and surrender the game to PSG, the French giants will put 5 goals past them. 5, just like they did to Inter Milan in last year's final. Now, pause on that for a second. Inter Milan, the masters of Catenaccio, the deep defensive system that Italy has practically written into its football DNA. The system that suffocated opponents for decades. PSG tore through it, like it wasn't even there, 5 goals. If they can do that to Inter, what happens to Arsenal if they sit back? But here's where Evra's comments get really interesting. Because he didn't just fire a warning, he also acknowledged Arsenal's achievement. He said that for Arsenal fans, reaching this final is already a bonus. They waited 22 years for that Premier League title. They finally got it this season. In his eyes, the league crown was the biggest achievement. If Arsenal win the Champions League, it's the cherry on top. But if they don't, he doesn't think fans should be devastated, because the job was already done in the Premier League. And honestly, as painful as it might be to hear that from Patrice Evra, there's a version of that which rings true. Arsenal went 22 years without a league title. Mikel Arteta delivered it this season. The city went mad. North London turned red. That was history. What happens in Budapest is a different kind of history, but it doesn't erase what already happened. Still, Arsenal didn't come all this way to settle for second best on the European stage. Now let's talk about the actual football, because the tactical battle in this final is genuinely fascinating, and it might come down to a chess match between 2 of the smartest coaches in world football right now. On one side, you have Luis Enrique and PSG. This team has been absolutely relentless in the Champions League this season. 44 goals scored, the most of any team in Europe's elite competition. Let that sink in. 44 goals. Their attacking trio of Ousmane Dembele, Desire Doué, and Kvicha Kvaratskhelia is arguably the most dangerous front 3 in world football right now. Pace, creativity, directness, and the ability to produce something from absolutely nothing. On the other side, you have Mikel Arteta and Arsenal. And while PSG score goals for fun, Arsenal keep them out like it's a religion. 9 clean sheets in the Champions League this season, equaling the all-time record for a single campaign. That record was set by Edouard Mendy when Chelsea won the competition 5 years ago. David Raya has matched it, and if he keeps a clean sheet in Budapest on Saturday, he'll stand alone at the top of that record books. Arsenal conceded just 27 goals across the entire Premier League season. Their XGA numbers in Europe are extraordinary, conceding only 6 goals against an expected goals against of nearly 12. That means they are massively outperforming even the models. This is not luck. This is structure. This is system. This is Arteta's fingerprints all over a defence that has been built to withstand pressure. And at the heart of that defence are two men who have been described this week as the best centre-half partnership in all of Europe: William Saliba and Gabriel Magalhaes. Arsenal legend Martin Keown spoke to Football London ahead of the final, and his admiration for those two was impossible to miss. He called Gabriel a sensation this season, someone who contributes in both boxes, a leader, a player who brings physicality and presence that changes the entire tone of a team. And Saliba, Keown describes him as a Rolls-Royce of a player. Silky, good in possession, big, strong, mobile. A complete centre-back who has everything you could want. And what makes Saliba's journey even more remarkable is where he came from. 3 seasons on loan after Arsenal signed him. 3 years of sitting away from the club, wondering if he'd ever get his chance, wondering if he was even in the club's plans. He was UNFP League One Young Player of the Year in his final loan season. He came back and was man of the match on his Arsenal debut against Crystal Palace. And now he is preparing to play in a Champions League final. That story writes itself. But Keown was very clear. As brilliant as Saliba and Gabriel are, Saturday night will be their most difficult test. And the reason comes back to those names: Dembele, Kvaratskhelia. Keown described what Arsenal's defenders will face as a nightmare scenario. Dembele drifting, disappearing from spaces, pulling defenders out of position. And then suddenly Kvaratskhelia arriving like an express train into the space that's been created. The movement is designed to break defensive lines. The combination play is designed to disorient. And the speed of the whole operation means that defenders have milliseconds, not seconds, to make the right decisions. Keown's advice to Saliba and Gabriel was pointed and direct. Read situations at lightning speed. Don't drop too deep. And when you do go to win the ball, win it. Because in that final, against that attacking line, hesitation is the enemy. Now here's the counter-argument. Here's why Arsenal fans shouldn't just roll over and concede this final before a ball is even kicked. PSG lost in the Club World Cup against Chelsea. Evra himself acknowledged that. In a one-off game, everything can change. Tactics, momentum, a single moment of brilliance or error. Any of it can flip the entire narrative, and Arsenal have already beaten PSG this season. Not on aggregate, across a 2-legged tie. In a standalone match at the Emirates, Arsenal beat Luis Enrique's side 2-0 in the league phase of the competition. Arteta has a formula. He has cracked the code once. The question is whether he can do it again on the biggest night. There's also the matter of fitness and availability. Reports have been circulating about potential doubts over Ousmane Dembele's fitness ahead of the final. If the Frenchman is not at full strength, or worse, if he doesn't start, that changes everything. Because so much of what makes PSG dangerous flows through Dembele's ability to carry the ball at pace, to beat defenders in one-on-one situations, and to create chaos in wide areas. Without him firing, this is a different PSG entirely. And Arsenal aren't walking into Budapest short of quality either. Bukayo Saka, Martin Odegaard, Declan Rice. These are world-class players who can hurt any team on the planet when they are on form. The task for Arteta is creating the right balance. The defensive solidity that has defined this Arsenal side all season, combined with the courage to attack and hurt PSG when the opportunity presents itself. Because Evra's warning cuts both ways. Yes, he says PSG will destroy Arsenal if they park the bus. But that also means if Arsenal play their football, if they press, if they move the ball quickly, if they use the wide areas and create chances, then this game is absolutely winnable. The semi-final comparison Evra made is worth exploring too. PSG against Bayern Munich, one of Europe's heavyweights, versus Arsenal and Atletico against each other in the other semi. The implication was that PSG had the tougher route, but Arsenal went unbeaten through their entire Champions League campaign to reach this final. Unbeaten. Every single game. That is a record of consistency that demands respect. So where does this all leave us as we head into match day? The narrative has been set. PSG are the favourites. The pundits are lining up to explain why Arsenal can't do it, why the French side's firepower is too much, why the occasion might finally be too big. Patrice Evra, for all his respect for the club, is backing PSG. Martin Keown believes this will be Arsenal's most difficult game. The weight of expectation and external pressure is pointing in one direction. But Arsenal, this Arsenal team under this manager, has built its entire identity on proving people wrong, on being the side that keeps clean sheets when everyone said they couldn't defend, on winning league titles when everyone said the window had closed, on reaching Champions League finals when 20 years of European underperformance seemed like a permanent ceiling. Budapest is waiting. The Puskás Arena is ready. Saliba and Gabriel will line up against Dembele and Kvaratskhelia in a collision of Europe's best defence against Europe's most lethal attack. Arteta against Enrique, Arsenal against the defending champions, and somewhere in the middle of all that pressure, all that noise, all those warnings and predictions, there is a game of football to be played. 90 minutes, one trophy, one night that will live forever. Arsenal have come too far to be spectators. They have earned the right to dream. And on Saturday night in Budapest, they're going to go out there and write a chapter that every single gunner will be talking about for the rest of their lives. That is it for today's video on Arsenal updates. If you found this breakdown valuable, please give it a thumbs up. It genuinely helps the channel grow. Subscribe if you haven't already, hit the notification bell so you never miss a video, leave a comment below telling us your prediction for the final, and share this with every Arsenal fan in your life. We'll be back with full coverage before, during, and after the Budapest final. Until then, come on you Gunners.